Why and when do teachers choose to use technology in their mathematics lessons?
Will it be beneficial? Is it just using technology just to use it, to say I used it because it looks good? Or is it actually going to promote deeper thinking and further understanding? That's what I, try to look for versus just using it just to use it.
One of the things is I want to make sure that whatever I'm using is going to actually get the point across from the lesson. I don't want it to be some kind of activity that's just busy work. Hey, check this out. This is pretty cool. I want it to be some kind of lesson or activity that they are going to be able to discover something or put to use something that they have learned in a different way. So I need to make sure it meets the learning goal and that it meets it well, so that I don't have to go back and reteach.
Just kind of enhances the experience. Maybe it helps them see why what they're doing is important, like either why it works or why it's important.
It needs to be easy to use. I can figure out something pretty quickly, but at a high school level, yes, they're great with phones, but they're not as great with a whole bunch of other variations and things.
I guess it depends on the standard that I'm trying to achieve first and foremost, I guess, and whether I think technology is the easiest way to, or the most efficient way, or the most beneficial way to achieve that goal.
Let's hear more as teachers describe what technologies they use and why.
So a lot of times when it's like an introduction to a type of function, I'll use Desmos and sliders. With quadratic functions as well, I do the same thing, just exploring the effects of A, B, and C on the graph of a quadratic function, and then getting them to eventually generate a formula for the axis of symmetry, and then connecting that to the quadratic formula. So I think I use technology a lot in the beginning of a unit.
I use the calculators pretty much every day. We do the simulations, we do the combinations, everything like that in the calculator. I use GeoGebra in my Math 1 and Math 2 classes. We do the different, like looking at the transformations of functions and stuff like that with GeoGebra and graphing lines and doing your parallel and perpendicular lines. And then I use Tinkerplot some in my AP Stats class. If it's geometry, I absolutely will include some type of technology, whether it's GeoGebra or something else.
So Kahoot, I like to use it as a review game, and so it's just a time for the students to really show what they know, but it's also in a fun environment, so they kind of are tricked into enjoying doing practice problems, and so it's a nice option instead of just a worksheet. And so I think it just gives them time to quickly put their knowledge to the test to see what they know and what they don't. And it's nice for me as a teacher because I immediately get the results. And so we can see how many people got it right and how many people got it wrong. And so whenever we have those questions where a lot of people in class got it wrong, we pause the game and we'll work it out on the whiteboard and just have an opportunity for everyone to see what they did wrong and fix their mistakes.
Yeah. So I'm trying to use my laptops more. So actually I've been trying to push to use them more in class for like assessment purposes and like diagnostics, right? And so I use Quizlet. I'm trying to use Quizlet more. I didn't mention that, right? And Problematic. I'm trying to use Problematic more. And Quizzes, I think. So those are three. Oh, I use Kahoot too. Yeah. So I'm trying to do where we write down the vocab, and then like the next day maybe I'll have them get the laptops out or use their phones to do a Quizlet more. And then like the Quizzy I like on review day because the kids know if they got the problem right or wrong right there. And if you put enough problems in there, the repetitions in there, the different types of questions are in there, and you can kind of like mess with it and make it fun. You can play a game out of it or something like that. But
So Google Classroom is the one I'll talk about first because that's the one I started using most recently. I've explored Google Classroom and I've seen that if I make a Google Doc for the students to work on, it makes an automatic copy for each of them. This is really nice, and I can give them feedback. So like one day I was out and they were doing an activity with algebra tiles, digital algebra tiles, where they were screenshotting it and pasting it in the Google Doc. And even though I was out, I was able to get on that afternoon once I had gone to the doctor to like comment on their work and give them suggestion for the next day. So I think that's a pretty cool aspect.
We have this platform called Canvas. It's similar to kind of Blackboard, but one function that I really like about it is the ability for my students to message me when they're not in the classroom. So they can shoot me a message while they're working on their homework if they're stuck. And a lot of my students are the type of students where they would get really frustrated and it would bother them. So they shoot me a message and I'm able to either record my voice or give them a hint as to what next step to proceed. And I think having this tool really allows them to fight through that difficulty that they might have that so many students like give up at that point.
It's an excellent classroom management tool because I can see all their screens and we can come together and we can share what they're doing on their screen without them necessarily having to have their name on it.
Okay.
If they want to, that's fine. But like that encourages them to take a little more risks being anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives that component of we can all come together and look at what we're doing, but we're not judging anyone for if it's wrong or if it's not because we don't know who it is.